Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. I am super excited. Today's been a great day. In this video, we are looking at the currency pair GBP JPY. So I did a video earlier on this channel here, and I wanted to show you how it actually came out of the channel, how we broke out of the channel. So let me first give my disclaimer, right? I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth, and the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. With that being said, y'all, let's get started. So again, we're looking at GJ, and I use the same setup, the same techniques as I do if I'm trading options or, or just regular stock. To me, it's all the same. The charts are the same. It's just a different platform. I say that all the time, right? So this is GJ. It had moved sideways or created a gathering spot for me, is what I like to say, right? So we have a gathering spot right here. And once it broke out of the gathering spot, it started trending. And that means it start making higher highs and higher lows. That's something to be mindful of, or something to think about, right? So we are trending to the upside. So I made this channel. That means we're making higher highs, higher lows. And I said, we could have traded this by looking at it on this time frame. I'm a scalper. So I would have bought off of support only to sell at rejection. The bottom line is my support, the top line is my resistance. So once it came to the bottom here, found support, you could have bought again, only to scalp, get in, get out. And we could have did this all the way up, in and out, and that's called scalping. You go in with it, out with it. So so right here is interesting on this 5-minute. It start consolidating. That means it start just gathering, not really going anywhere. I call that the gathering spot, right? So normally what I look for is I look for it to break out of the gathering spot, which is this is the bottom. As you can see, most of the body of the candles, let's say that I don't look at the wicks when I'm looking at this. So the body of the candle is touching this line. Most of them are touching this line. So I say this is our gathering spot on this 5-minute chart. As soon as it broke out of this, it also broke structure. It broke out of my trend line. So that could have been an entry to the downside. And look at the pivot that the MACD made. So that would have been my entry to enter this trade. It broke out of the gathering spot. That's one confirmation. It broke under the 5 and the 20 EMA. It's under that now. That's 2. And my MACD pivot is a 3. So that is 3 reasons as to why I would have entered this trade. And once it came down, do you see how price went from 192.78 all the way down to 191.84, only because we have been trending up for so long. I think it started about maybe 2 a.m. Actually, it starts maybe about 350. It started trending about 350, higher highs, higher lows, and then it seemed like at 9:35, that's when it actually broke out of this zone. So if we would have entered this trade around the 192.64, 192.65, we could have taken it all the way down to the 191.84, and depending on your lot size, that would have been a decent trade. That would have been a really decent trade. So, but do you see how when the price did break out of this channel and our 5 and 50 crossed here, but the interesting thing, I'm not going to say a concern, the interesting thing for me is how it sold all the way down. This red line is the ORB low. My charts automatically comes up the high of the day and the low of the day the first 15 minutes of the market open. So it came, which is another form of support and resistance. So it came all the way down to this ORB low. And do you see how buyers were right there to take this price all the way back up? And it seemed like it stopped at the 192.40. So it went all the way down to the 191.84. So from 191.84 all the way back up to 192.40. You could have bought, even though it sold, you could have entered again, sold, got back in it, and took it back to the upside, right? Because that would have been somewhat of a decent trade. That's a long wick. Even though it was a long candle down, that was a long wick back up to the upside. So that could have been a two-way trade if you're able to get in and to get out. And again, depending on your lot size, that could have been a pretty decent trade. Let's say that, right? So now, looking at this, it's out of the channel. We would use this bottom line, which was support. It's now my resistance, but we never made it back up to that price. We never made it back up to that price. So at this point, again, looking at this 5-minute time frame, we're back at that up and down sideways type thing. And could we have gotten in to scalp this? We could have, but you have to be in and out really, really quick, buying off of rejection and or support. Here's an example here of buying off of rejection. Here's another example. Let's start here as buying off of rejection. It got rejected at the bottom of this gathering spot that I just marked here. I was gonna say created. It bounced off of this. It tested, bounced off of it, only to come down. All of my candles are under the 5 EMA. My moving averages are so close to one another. So I would have stayed in it based on what I see. And that week would have been a little bit of confirmation. My MACD showed me that it was still, okay to be in this trade to the downside. So this is one of those that I would definitely say ride the 5, because it's under the 5 EMA and I'm making lower lows. I am declining, not big declines, but I am declining, right? So there's a pivot here with my MACD. Once it did this, I would have been watching to get out, because normally that's going to be a change in direction. And as you can see, there's like an inverted hammer, an inverted hammer here. So it takes us back over the 5 EMA. So I would have definitely been watching this area to say, okay, if I was to the downside, I don't need to be to that downside. This MACD gave me a signal. This crossing is my second signal. This candle here is a third signal. I have 3 signals that's telling me, okay, you don't need to be to the downside. It's getting ready to change directions or change course, right? So again, moving in the sideways movement here, I don't do well trading that. So I try not to trade areas like this. So my good trade, or my better trade, would have been this morning, at 9:35 when it broke out of this area. I had other confirmations to take it to the downside. I could have took it back to the upside. And again, depending on your lot size, you could have been completely finished for the day. That's something to be mindful of. I always say go in. I set a daily goal for myself, and it's okay if I don't reach that. It's just something that I set for me. And once I reach that goal, the discipline part is to stop trading and to not trade, right? So looking at it on this higher time frame, this is the 30-minute. As you can see, we are back to that gathering spot. It's creating us another gathering spot. Are we going to break back to the upside, or are we going to break to the downside? Those are things that I would ask myself. Where are my trouble places? It could break this 50 EMA only to come back to this 192.02. It could break this only to come back to the 191.92 area, right? And again, I treat the Forex currency pairs just like I do when I'm trading my options, the exact same way. My setup is the same. I mark, that this trend line, or this channel here, helped me a lot today. And it was interesting, let me say that. So yeah, y'all, I hope these videos are very, very helpful. Again, Forex is, in my opinion, it's just like trading options. The charts are, I try to look at all of that in the same way. Sometimes the execution of those trades sometimes can be a little bit confusing, but ultimately the charts are the same. So again, I hope this video is very, very helpful. And y'all, I'm super, super excited. I always say we learn and we grow together. If you could please like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I hope that everyone had a profitable day. Until next time, I like to leave you with this: be blessed as well as a blessing unto others.